Again, we are not hearing the jury foreman. We're getting this relayed to us through our Liam Bridgman, who's in a media room. The all audio coming from the courtroom is muted right now.
Count 14, false reporting, guilty.
Also from the incident there on February the 20th of 2020. We have another false reporting charge as well. This is related to our conversations with the TBI and Sullivan County Sheriff's Office. Some of these were some of the videos we saw.
Count 15, false reporting. Guilty.
Another one on count 16, that is the false reporting charge, and reality appears to be setting in a little bit there for Megan Boswell. She's been crying since that first-degree murder conviction was announced. Again, first-degree murder, guilty. 2 counts of felony murder, guilty. We have been guilty all the way down so far. We've made our way to count 16 in this indictment.
Count 16, false report, guilty.
Got one more false report charge, then we'll move on to the other 2 remaining charges in this case. This is not a death penalty case. They did seek life in prison, so there will not be a death penalty, capital punishment decision in this. The state did not choose to go after that in this case, so it is a life in prison or with or without parole.
Count 17, false report, guilty.
All right, so that is guilty on all false report charges. You may remember at the start of the trial, they did drop one of those false reports. There was originally a count 18, a false report that was dropped. So I believe now the next charge in this we should be hearing would be abuse of a corpse.
Count 18. Oh, yes. Count 19. Abuse of a corpse.
18 was pulled, so
Guilty.
we're at 19 in the indictment. So we are. One more charge here would be failure to report a death under suspicion, unusual or unnatural circumstances. We count 20 of the total indictment. This one dates back to when
Count 20. Failure to report a death under suspicious, unusual, or unnatural circumstances. Guilty.
That is it. Guilty on all charges, all 19 counts. A complete decision there from that jury of 7 men and 5 women. Megan Boswell convicted on every count that she was charged with, including that big one of first-degree murder, 2 counts of felony murder, aggravated child abuse, and child neglect. Now looking at life in prison. The question is, will she have a chance at parole after serving 51 years? But life in prison.
So right now the judge is asking if either side would like to pull the jurors in this case. It looks like it's being declined.
And in that case, where they would go through and ask juror number 1, number 2, is this your decision? Is this your decision? And ask them all if that is what is happening. So it looks like the defense attorney is going to make some questions there. Again, we can't hear what is happening. I'm not sure when our audio will be allowed to be turned back on in the courtroom. As soon as we're allowed to turn that sound back on, we'll take you in there and listen into what's happening in that courtroom. And Judge Jim Goodwin's.
The jurors are being dismissed currently, temporarily. I believe the sentencing phase is happening.
The sentencing phase will come. He did tell them that if that was in his instructions yesterday, that if they did find guilty on first-degree murder, we would immediately go into a sentencing phase. That'll be the next job that they have to do in this. So they'll begin the sentencing phase on that first-degree murder conviction. So we'll wait and see how that happens. We could be back with you today and on however long it takes them to make that decision. But right now, we imagine the judge will publish those findings. We may be able to hear into the courtroom at this point in time. But again, Megan Boswell, you see it on your screen right there, guilty on all 19 counts, including that first-degree murder and 2 felony murder convictions.
He's reading the charges again. Guilty on first-degree murder, guilty on felony murder, aggravated child abuse, guilty on felony murder, aggravated child neglect.
We can hear it.
3.
Let's listen.
The jury of your peers having found you guilty of first-degree murder and the perpetration of a felony. It's a judgment of this court. You are guilty. And count 4, the judgment of your peers having found you guilty of aggravated child abuse. It's a judgment of the court. You are guilty. And count 5, the jury of your peers having found you guilty of aggravated child neglect. It's a judgment of the court. You are guilty. And count
And finally, you'll hear a little bit about her younger siblings, Elijah and Charlotte. Elijah has a disability that Megan has looked after him and tried to help take care of him. And then you're also feel free to look at any other thing you've heard in the proof in making that decision as far as a mitigating factor. Anything else you've heard in all the proof from any of the witnesses. And also, you'll probably hear from Gail Kite. You've heard from her once before, but you'll hear a little bit more from her about the shape Megan was in when she came into her home. And you'll hear from, we expect to call Mary Boswell. She is Megan's grandmother. I think most of you recognize the name Old Mommy at this point. You'll hear from her and what she witnessed and her participation in raising Megan. So it's a hard decision. It's not a light decision. You've made a hard decision already. And it's my hope that after you see this, you will come to the conclusion that maybe at 69 years old, it would be fair for her to be released from prison.
All right. General proof.
Yes, Judge. At this time, the state would introduce a copy of birth certificate of Evelyn Boswell.
All right. That'll be Exhibit 262. I'm going to keep the exhibits in sequential numbers, but I've started a new sheet for the sentencing. It'll be Exhibit 262. Any other proof, General?
No, Judge. That the state would rest.
Mr. Scott?
Should we call Angel Boswell? Angel Boswell.
Raise your right hand, man. State your name for me.
Angela Boswell.
You solemnly swear or affirm testimony you're about to give be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Have a seat. If you'll pull the microphone down and talk straight into that microphone. Actually, you know what? I need to switch these.
Ready to go, Judge? Ready. Ma'am, state your name for the record.
Angela Boswell.
You are Megan Boswell's mother.
I am.
Okay. Ms. Boswell, you know the purpose of being here today.
I do.
I want to ask you some about Megan's home life and growing up, but I guess I want to ask you first a little bit about yourself.
Okay.
And I'm asking you these questions, Ms. Boswell. I'm not trying to embarrass you or
No,
cast any
no, sir.
aspersions.
No.
You married Tommy Boswell when you were how old?
First time 15.
You speak into that microphone just a little more, please.
The first time 15.
And when did you become pregnant with your first child with him?
I had my first in April and turned 16 in July. So,
Okay, and who was that child?
Tommy Jr.
Okay, and then you had Megan at some point. How old were you when you had Megan?
There's 8 years difference. I was almost 24.
It's okay. So, let's talk about Megan's life growing up. Would it be fair to say that during her lifetime she's witnessed drug use between you and her father?
Yes.
What type of drugs?
Opiates, mainly.
Scoot up and speak into that so the jury can hear you.
Opiates, mainly.
Okay. Did that drug use lead to other problems?
Yeah. Arguments, fighting, yes.
Okay. You say there were
Strife
strife.
is what it brings, yes. Non-stop.
Is that something that went on pretty much her entire childhood
Yeah.
growing up?
Yeah, from the time she was pretty little, yeah.
Okay.
Mm.
Good. Now, did she witness fights between you and her father?
Yes.
Okay. I think at some point her father was convicted of aggravated assault and kidnapping.
Yes.
Were you the victim in that?
Yes.
Do you remember ever taking Megan to any NAAA meetings with you?
Yes, I did.
How old was she when you did that?
She was probably about 7 or 8. First ones I started taking her to. 7 or 8, 8 or 9, somewhere around in there.
Now due to the strife in your home, was she raised by her grandparents to some degree?
Yes.
Okay, and what were their names?
Mary and Danny Boswell.
Okay, Mary Boswell, would that be who's known as a mommy?
Yes.
These problems, do you feel that it's partly your fault, the problems Megan's experienced?
No, absolutely. Yes. Yes, absolutely.
Now, unfortunately, your problems, they went on up into, we saw a video in here of you being brought down from the jail to talk with her in 2020.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So even up until the time she went to jail, you were in and out of jail.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. I've been.
Have you been convicted of numerous crimes?
Yes.
Now, have you managed to straighten up at this point?
I have, yes.
You hoping to?
Yes. I pray every day and just, to do my best and try. I've learned the importance of a mother's role, but not for Megan, I didn't.
All right.
I failed her on that miserably.
And you're here asking this jury to give her a sentence of life as opposed to life without?
It's Maggie is, at her core, she is a generous, kind person. And through all Maggie's went through, Maggie still has potential. She was trying so hard. She didn't repeat my mistakes. Maggie learned from my mistakes. And she was trying to do better with Eve. She wasn't repeating. I think she got saddled with, just because of my mistakes, that she did those, and that was not it. That was not the case with Evelyn.
Would it be fair to say she didn't have a good role model for what a mother should
No,
be?
no, she did not.
Answer any of Ms. Massengill or Mr. Harper's questions.
I don't have any questions, Judge.
Thank you, David.
Judge, at this time, I have some judgments of conviction on Tommy Boswell I'd like to put in by agreement with Mr. Harper.
No objection, Judge.
I would ask these to be made the next 4 exhibits.
Mr. Scott, I'm going to enter the case number 61078 as exhibit 263. And the other 3 pages are 3 counts of the same case. So I'll make that a collective 260.
What is that case number, Your Honor?
62497.
Thank you.
Yeah, the first case is 263, case 61078, and case 62497. Those 3 pages, 263.
Your Honor, defense would call Gail Kite. Kite.
It's K-Y-T-E.
I believe so, Your Honor. I'll have her spell it. I think she was a witness in the trial, but I'll go back to that.
Raise your right hand. State your name, sir.
Gail.
Ms. Kite, you solemnly swear from the testimony you're about to give to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, ma'am? Speak into that microphone.
Ms. Kite, good morning.
Good morning.
And just so I make sure here, spelling your last name, is it K-Y-T-E?
It is.
And Ms. Kite, you've previously testified in this hearing as a state's witness, is that correct?
That's correct.
Well, thank you for coming back for this part of it. I know Ms. Boswell appreciates that. How long have you been working in foster care?
15 years.
Do you remember when Megan Boswell came to you?
I do.
Do you recall what kind of shape she was in or state?
She was in bad shape. She was one of the worst children that I brought in as far as neglect.
What do you mean by that?
She was very malnourished. She's very skinny. Her hair was matted to her head with lice. Impossible to even get a comb through.
Okay. Well, when she came to you, were you given any background? I imagine in foster care you're given background or information of where this child is coming from. Were you giving any of that?
I was.
And what were you preparing for?
In the intake papers, it mentioned trauma. It mentioned rape.
Did it give you any background or any information about her family background or makeup?
Not really.
Okay. Now, you said she came to you with lice. What did you do to try to help Megan?
Well, I took her to a beauty shop because there was no way to even begin to get a comb through. It was horrible. The beauty shop wouldn't touch it. They told me I offered to pay him $100 to go out back to cut her hair. And they said that they couldn't do it. Finally, the agency that we were with found a beautician that met me at a church that was willing to come in and give Megan a haircut. They gave her a bob, which looked really cute on her. But even after that we could get a comb through, it took close to 3 weeks, maybe a month, to get rid of the lice. Were just so bad. I had to get prescription medicine from the doctor. We got 2 bottles of that. I bought the comb that you run through that's supposed to kill the lice. And I know I practically traumatized the poor child because we'd go out on the porch and I'd run that comb through trying to make sure we got all the lice, and she'd sit there and tears would run down her hair. She got tired of me. It wasn't a pleasant situation. And then even when you do that, you still got to go through, you've got to thoroughly clean the bedding. Everything in the room has to be taken down, washed in hot water. But it was a rough time for her, very rough.
And you may have said, but she came to you how old?
She was 17 years old.
And she was pregnant.
17, pregnant, scared, didn't have a place to go.
And you believe that she had been raped or violently sexually assaulted. Were you given any background or information about her family, her mom and her dad?
I knew Mama was in and out of jail, and I knew her daddy owned a business.
Okay. Were you able to come to the opinion that she essentially came from a dysfunctional family?
I did.
Okay. And how long did she stay with you?
She stayed 4 months. When she came in, we got to work, got rid of the lice, got her registered for school. Where she was pregnant, she chose to do online schooling. She worked really hard getting her diploma. If a test didn't go right, she was on the phone the next day with the counselor getting it reset. I never had any problems trying to get her to do her schoolwork or anything. She hung with it.
Did she ever cause you any problems, disciplinary-wise or anything like that?
No,
Never?
no.
And did she seem to be thriving in a structured environment?
She did. She did.
Was she making friends?
She did.
Did she seem to be progressing and coming out of the state she was in when she came to you?
She very much so.
And she was with you for 4 months. Did you form a bond with her?
Oh, I did. We took up together immediately. It was during the winter. She learned me how to play card games. Winter days, we'd sit there and we'd play. Baby'd sleep, we'd play cards. But we formed a bond.
Did you take her to doctor's appointments?
I did.
How did she seem to feel about becoming a mother?
She was very excited.
Did you have conversations with her about that?
I did.
Did she seem to fully understand her roles and responsibilities of what was going to be required of her?
She did. Megan practically raised her younger sister Charlotte and her brother Elijah. She had plenty of experience with younger children.
How did you know that?
Well, mostly from conversations with Megan, and just, I could tell by the way she took care of Evelyn at the house. You know, she knew how to heat bottles, she knew how to change the diapers. She got up when the baby cried.
Did you ever have to tell her to do those things?
No. Me and my husband never once woke up those 4 months when Evelyn woke up in the middle of the night. Megan would take care of her very well.
And I asked you, and I want to clarify that, if you ever took her to doctor's appointments, she was with you when she was with you. She came to you pregnant. Did you go to the prenatal appointments?
I did.
And did you go to follow-up appointments with Evelyn's pediatrician?
I did.
Okay. So you were involved through the whole process, really?
Those 4 months, yes.
Okay. At some point in time, was Megan taken from your home and placed back somewhere else?
She done trial visits to go back to Tommy's.
Okay.
There was a process in the foster care system.
I understand.
She done weekend visits, or at first it was just visits, and then it led to weekend visits.
How did she feel about that?
She seemed okay with it.
Eventually, was Megan placed back in the custody and care of her family?
She was. She went back to Tommy's house.
Tommy, you mean her father?
Yes,
Okay. And did you maintain contact with her?
I did.
How often?
We texted back and forth over it wasn't a daily time, but I want to say once a month, couple times sometimes couple times a week. It's just according to what was going on and what pictures she had took of Evelyn.
When you were talking to her, did you eventually learn that maybe things were kind of getting back off the tracks again?
I did. In April, I received a call from her foster care worker saying that Megan had needed some help, and even though she was out of the foster care system, would I be willing to go and help her out? And I said, no problem. So I called Megan. She told me that her mother had dropped her off at a church. She had drove off and left her and Evelyn there. She had took Evelyn's diaper bag, the baby's supplies. So I told her I'd be right there. I went and picked her up. We went to Walmart, bought baby bottles, formula, diapers, the stuff that a baby would need.
Where did you take her?
We went back to my home. She spent the night. Her and Evelyn they took showers, a good night's sleep. But then the next morning, she wanted to go back to her mother's family's home.
Where's that at?
Now, I'm not sure. The place that I took, her grandfather was in the hospital, and she wanted to go there to meet up with her family. So when she left my home, I drove her to the hospital in Kingsport, and she assured me that she would be perfectly fine, and her and Evelyn got out.
It'd be fair to say that Megan wasn't getting maybe the familial support from her parents that she was needing at that time.
Yes.
Okay. I imagine over this time, Miss Kite, that did you ever meet Tommy Boswell Sr. or her mother, Angela?
I had never met Angela, but I'd met Tommy several times.
You said you agreed that she probably come from a dysfunctional family. Let me ask you this. She lived with you for 4 months and you stayed in contact with her after she moved out. It's your opinion, you know her, you talked to her. Do you think Megan ever knew what a normal family looked like?
No. No.
Did she crave that?
I think so.
Was she wanting that for Evelyn?
I think so.
Well, it's obvious why we're here today. You know why you're testifying. Are you asking this jury to just give her life?
I am with the possibility parole. This child has been traumatized. She's made bad mistakes that has to be paid for. But I think she deserves a chance to come back out to the real world. I don't think she's irredeemable. I think she can become a functioning citizen.
Ms. Cott, I thank you again. If you would answer any questions that the state has for you.
Nothing from the state judge.